WDSU 6 New Orleans. Now 6 News Tonight with Terry Wood, Beverly Carr, Buddy D with sports, and meteorologist Dan Milham.
Good evening. The deadly Shell refinery explosion that ripped through Norco earlier this month remains a nightmare for most residents there, a trauma that's leaving deep emotional scars. Logan Banks shares the plight of one family that still cannot forget that disaster.
When the catalytic cracker blew at Shell's Norco refinery May 5th, it etched a permanent impression in the lives of people uprooted by the blast. 35-year-old James Richardson is a case in point. Richardson and his family can't shake the disaster that ruined their home, and they can't shake the emotional scar that it's left. Shell Oil Company relocated the family in Kenner's Sheraton Hotel, a cramped room that Richardson says cannot replace his home.
I want to get my life and my household back, furnished like it was, and living again, everyday life, so we can start our lives back. Their lives will never be the same because we're going through some very emotional problems now. We're going to have a lot of problems with the kids, ourselves, my wife, with her nerves and stuff too. Our lives will never be maintained. If so, it'll take a long time.
Richardson says Shell will relocate his family into an apartment, but he's not happy with the snail's pace the process is taking. And even when the family settles in, there are still the emotional scars to deal with. Daughter Laura can't sleep nights.
It happened to me once, it ain't gonna happen again.
Think about it a lot.
It's scary.
And I told my husband, I'm not going through this no more. Ain't no way.
The Richardsons are angry about the loss of their home, one they renovated themselves. But they're not going back to Norco. In James's words, all I have left of a nice, lovely home are pictures, memories. Logan Banks, 6 News Tonight.
13 people in Jefferson Parish were forced from their homes early today when a fire in a vacant apartment on Scottsdale jumped to their building on Aberdeen. The blaze went to 3 alarms before firefighters were able to put it out. Now officials in Harvey are looking for the person they believe set the fire. Last week's 7-alarm fire at the Cabildo has brought officials from the Smithsonian and Getty Museums in to help. Tomorrow, the experts will look at the pieces of art and antiques that were damaged and will give Cabildo officials an idea of what they're looking at in restoration. Early estimates to rebuild the gutted 3rd floor have run about $50 million. You know, you may have noticed quite a few people in town today wearing red. That's to honor National Tourism Week, which began today.
And of course, that's a big week for New Orleans, with much of our economy based on tourism. But the attention paid to tourism does not stop when next Sunday rolls around. It's a year-round business here in New Orleans. These folks on Bourbon Street tonight create a picture that could be duplicated any night of the year. They'll take their memories of New Orleans home with them and pass the word along to their neighbors. But this summer, we have an opportunity we haven't had before. New Orleans will host the Republican National Convention. The scene in the Superdome will be similar to the scene in Dallas in 1984. But while the relatively small number of delegates are doing their business inside the dome, more than 15,000 print and electronic journalists will be roaming the city looking for a story. And more often than not, the city will be the story.
It's the biggest in terms of publicity, and that's what everybody is hanging their hook on.
Beverly Gianna of the Greater New Orleans Tourist and Convention Commission is well aware of the opportunity we have this August, not only from the media, though,
but also from the standpoint of the delegates, of the CEOs, the business people that will come here and say, yeah, great place to have our next meeting.
You can do them in different things, like I did it on a sweatshirt. It's all cross-stitch.
Yeah. Annette Dickin is excited, too. She already has GOP cross-stitch in her store in the Jack's Brewery. For her, the convention means
people. The biggest benefit is people in town and New Orleans. New Orleans is a wonderful city.
Agree with that. By the way, Beverly Gianna pointed out that even without the Republican convention, this summer will be the best ever in the history of New Orleans, with more than 200,000 delegates coming to the city for various conventions and meetings.
90 off-duty police officers walked an informational picket line in front of City Hall today. Their association leaders are getting ready for a meeting with the mayor tomorrow. The two sides will talk about some of the issues on the pamphlets officers were handing out: low pay, poor working conditions, sinking morale, and equipment that's falling apart. Panel President Ron Canatella will ask the mayor again for a collective bargaining agreement with the city.
Tomorrow morning, 3 cars that used to be driven by Orleans levee commissioners go on display. An 86 Lincoln Town Car, an 84 Oldsmobile 98, and an 84 Buick Park Avenue are all being auctioned off as part of a Trim the Fat move by the new board. The cars can be seen at 9 o'clock. The auction is at 1 at 6920 Franklin Avenue. Minimum bids will be posted. The terms are 10% immediately, and the balance in by cash by 4 p.m. Still ahead, smokers beware. A new report indicates you may be a tobacco junkie.
And there's been another killer bus crash, this time in New York. Those stories when we come back.
There are little gifts and big gifts. And one of the very best gifts you can give your family is also one of the most basic things they need. It doesn't cost much, but you can be sure they'll enjoy it every day. And so will you. It's easy to give your family a gift of health they'll enjoy now and appreciate for the rest of their lives. Kentwood, one of the good things you do for your family.
Kentwood spring water, it's a natural.
Good night, hon.
Why is it that after a couple of years,
good night, hon,
your mattress sags and sags?
Good night, hon.
Because it's not a beauty rest. Our unique barrel-shaped coils of high-carbon steel are pre-compressed to eliminate sag, to give you a firm, comfortable mattress that can't sag, so that your beauty rest
good night, hon,
will stay as firm as the day
good night,
you bought it. Beauty rest.
See Simmons Beauty Rest at Hurwitz Mints.
The Tony-winning Cheetah Rivera, the world-renowned Radio City Rockettes, Cole Porter's Can-Can, Ooh La La, the unforgettable music, the spectacular dancing and costume, the classic Broadway musical. You'll get a kick out of Can-Can.
Tickets available at the Sanger box office and all Ticketmaster locations. Call 888-8181.
New Orleans Rug Exchange is having a going-out-of-business bankruptcy sale.
The prices are very affordable. If I hadn't come here, I wouldn't have been able to afford an Oriental rug. The quality is terrific. I've been really pleased with the rugs I've bought.
Well, with various clients throughout the year, we probably stop at every rug shop in the city and usually end up back here.
All Oriental rugs are 70% off. This is the final discount. And there are only 6 days left. New Orleans Rug Exchange, 2727 Britannia at Washington in the Rink.
This was my opportunity to finally get what I wanted.
Smokers do not have many friends in high places. Today, the Surgeon General issued his strongest anti-smoking report yet and called for stricter labeling on tobacco products. C. Everett Koop did everything but call for tobacco to be made illegal.
The points that should be gotten across are that this tobacco product contains a drug called nicotine, which is addictive. If I had my way, I would say it is just as addictive as heroin or cocaine.
Anti-smoking forces are now calling for federal regulation of the tobacco industry. They say the FDA regulates other drugs and think tobacco should be included in light of Koop's statements.
3 people are dead tonight and 25 injured following a tragic bus accident in Clinton, New York today. Police say the bus went out of control, sheared off a utility pole, and flipped over a guardrail into a ravine. It was a full-size school bus that had just picked up handicapped workers from work. They were being driven to their group homes when the accident occurred. Police say one of the dead victims is the driver of the bus. Meanwhile, in Kentucky, 27 counts of capital murder have been filed against the driver of a pickup truck that collided with a church bus Saturday night. The state's attorney general says a blood alcohol test reveals that 34-year-old Larry Mahoney was legally drunk when he drove his pickup truck the wrong way on Interstate 71. The fiery collision killed 27 people. Mahoney remains under police guard at a Louisville hospital where he remains in serious condition. And in San Francisco today, a streetcar, a cable car that is, traveling down a rain-slickened hill, slammed into a large truck at a busy intersection. 18 people, mostly tourists, were injured. Police say 6 of the victims suffered serious injuries. An investigation is ongoing.
If Attorney General Edwin Meese hadn't been the center of controversy before now, this should do it. He's fired his Director of Public Affairs. Terry Eastland left today rather than work through the 30 days notice he got Friday from Meese. Meese said he didn't think Eastland was, quote, defending him aggressively enough against any and all criticism. Eastland's assistant, William Shambra, also resigned in protest. Lawmakers in Baton Rouge want everyone to buckle up. A House committee has decided pickup trucks and vans should not be exempt from the seatbelt law. Right now, they are. 2 years ago, rural lawmakers were successful in passing the exemption. Today, some of those same lawmakers argued with New Orleans' Gary Forster, who wrote the latest bill.
If you're really against the bill, then vote against the bill. If you're just trying to load it up with amendments to kill the thing, then, you know, I understand the process, but that's all this amendment's trying to do, and you know the fight that we had 3 years ago.
I voted against it then. I'm against the bill all the way.
I kind of felt
I'm trying to clear.
In the end, the committee approved the measure 10-5, but those 5 promised a lengthy floor fight when it hits the House.
And if you haven't filed your state income tax yet, you've got less than 2 hours to do it now. It's usually due on the 15th of May, but since the 15th fell on a Sunday this year, the state's giving us an extra day to file. The good news is the main post office on Loyola will be open until midnight for you last-minute filers. The bad news is, if you're expecting a refund, the state says you'll probably have to wait until August to get it. And chances are the income you report won't equal that of President and Mrs. Reagan. They reported real estate, investment, and other financial holdings of well over $1 million. In an annual report filed with the Office of Government Ethics, the president listed his blind trust and his California mountaintop ranch as his major holdings.
They may be fighting high prices for fuel and low prices for their product, but Louisiana brown shrimpers took to the water in droves today. It was opening day in Zone 2. Hundreds of shrimpers brought their catches in, only to face smaller than usual shellfish. They blame it on an early opening day and lowered dockside prices. The shrimp are averaging between 70 and 120 per pound, which means you can expect lower prices at the checkout counter. Our temperatures reached record highs this afternoon. Dan Milham has another hot, dry forecast for us.
And some big bad music has come out of the closet, literally. We'll explain when 6 News Tonight continues.
I just don't believe it.
There are those who won't believe the real superstore can bake authentic French pastry, import fresh Norwegian salmon, and still have thousands of prices cheaper than Schweckman.
I just don't believe it.
And some won't believe we can offer U.S. prime beef, fresh fruit from around the world, 400 varieties of cheese, and still be cheaper than Schweckman.
I just don't believe it.
Believe it. We're the real superstore.
Last year, in this country alone, 30,000 Cadillac owners came over to Lincoln. In fact, this past March, Lincoln Continental outsold Cadillac Seville 3-1 nationwide. Whether it's the world-class luxury of Lincoln Continental or the uncompromised elegance of Lincoln Town Car, one thing is certain. A lot of Cadillac owners have been coming over to Lincoln. Maybe it's time you did. Come on over to your Lincoln Mercury dealer and experience the luxury of Lincoln today.
Hello, Oak Tree. Goodbye, Dixie Savings. Now there's a new name in banking, Oak Tree Savings Bank. With $2 billion in assets, net worth over $700 million, it's the strongest financial institution in Louisiana. Not just in numbers, but in everything it offers. More hours to do your banking, 19 statewide offices, and the same friendly staff you've known for years. Oak Tree Savings Bank. Strength you can bank on.
Would you catch a bus for some Godfather's Pizza?
Sir?
The taste worth doing anything for.
Loyola University is adding arts.